47. That is the number everyone is talking about, but the real number is far bigger. 2,847 sealed Epstein files sitting inside the Department of Justice. Not released, not reviewed, sealed. And when Congressman Jamie Raskin walked into that hearing room, he was carrying one printed page with one number on it. That number was about to end two careers at the same time. Kash Patel had 4 lawyers, color-tabbed binders stacked in front of him. Pam Bondi sat 3 chairs away in a charcoal blazer, her lead attorney close enough to whisper. Neither of them knew what Raskin was holding. The cameras were already rolling when Raskin sat down and checked his notes without looking up. He had been waiting through 93 minutes of budget questions. He was not waiting anymore. The room was packed, every journalist's seat taken, every camera angle covered, and inside a red folder on Raskin's desk was a privilege log that nobody expected to surface. This is the moment one document became the most dangerous piece of paper in Washington. Room 2154 of the Rayburn House office building. Jamie Raskin is the Democratic congressman from Maryland's 8th District. He has been a constitutional law professor for over 2 decades. When Chairman Nadler recognized him, Raskin removed a single sheet from his folder and held it up. This document, he said, is a court filing from the Southern District of New York. It references 2,847 Epstein files held under court seal at the Department of Justice. Director Patel, are you aware these files exist? Watch what happens next. Patel's response came smooth. Congressman, our processes for sealed materials follow established FBI protocols. We handle thousands of sealed documents annually. It was a classic Washington dodge. He was not answering the question. He was describing the process. Raskin shook his head once. I did not ask about your protocols. Are you aware that 2,847 specific files exist? 3 seconds of silence. You could see the calculation happening behind Patel's eyes. He hedged. He said he may have reviewed materials associated with that general classification. Good, Raskin said quietly, because here's what I also have. Document 2 landed on the table. An internal FBI archive summary. This was not vague. This was a spreadsheet, an inventory. Raskin turned it toward the cameras. Category 1, witness transcripts, 412 files. Category 2, financial records, 691 files. Category 3, travel documentation, 83 files. Category 4, protected individual profiles, 941 files. Watch Patel's left hand. It moved flat against the table edge, an involuntary motion. 941 protected profiles. That means 941 names. That means 941 individuals whose identities are currently shielded from public view by the power of the United States government. And Raskin had not even turned to Bondi yet. The room shifted. Everyone knew this was not going to end quietly. Raskin continued, methodical, relentless, director, who authorized the 4th renewal of that court seal in the last 18 months. Patel cleared his throat. Renewal decisions are coordinated with the Department of Justice based on ongoing sensitivity assessments. Raskin wrote something down. And who at DOJ coordinated that last assessment? Patel said coordination involves multiple offices, including the Office of the Attorney General. Raskin stopped writing. He looked up slowly. Then he turned to Bondi. This is where it matters. Raskin knew the timeline. He knew when Bondi was confirmed. He knew when she could legally access the most sensitive materials. He placed document 3 on the table, a DOJ authorization form with a blue header. Office of the Attorney General. On the signature line was a name and a date. He placed it face up. The camera zoomed in. This renewal authorization was signed 6 days after you took office, he said to Bondi, before your security clearances for the most sensitive FBI materials were complete. Did you sign this document? Bondi's jaw tightened. Her lead attorney shifted. She kept her expression controlled. I signed numerous documents in the course of normal agency operations during my transition. Raskin leaned forward. Attorney General, you signed a renewal protecting 2,847 Epstein files. You signed it before you could legally access what you were protecting. That means someone told you to sign it before you could even read what it covered. He set the paper down. I am formally requesting a referral to the DOJ Inspector General on this signature. But Raskin was not finished. He placed document 4 on the table, a privilege log, not classified, not sealed. Privilege logs are public court filings. They list what the government is withholding and why. Every sealed case must file one. The log ran 63 pages. Line 47 was highlighted. Document Batch EP347, Category 4, Protected Individual Profile, Redaction Justification, Executive Branch Sensitivity Designation, signed by Director Kash Patel, February 14th. Raskin looked up. Director, you personally signed an Executive Branch Sensitivity Designation on a protected Epstein profile. What is the name on that profile? Patel's hands went flat on the table, both of them. Pressed down. Congressman, executive branch sensitivity designations are applied based on legal counsel recommendations that are often coordinated with the White House counsel's office. Raskin did not move. White House counsel. He wrote that down slowly, making sure the cameras captured it. So the White House is involved in protecting identities inside Jeffrey Epstein's files. That is your testimony under oath. 14 seconds of silence. You could hear the ventilation system. Raskin turned to Bondi, Attorney General, same question. Is the White House involved in protecting those 2,847 files? Bondi looked at her attorney. Her attorney gave the smallest shake of his head. She said nothing. The classification code on batch EP347 was not standard. It was code EP, Executive Protection. This was not routine national security classification. This was a special designation. Raskin gave her 8 more seconds of silence. Then he addressed the chairman. I am asking this committee to subpoena the full contents of document batch EP347. He turned back to both witnesses. Director Patel, Attorney General Bondi, one final question. Does any person now serving in the executive branch of the United States government appear as a protected individual inside Jeffrey Epstein's sealed files? Yes or no? The ventilation system became audible. That is how quiet the room went, because everyone understood this question could not be answered with a simple denial without opening the door to perjury charges if the files eventually leak. Patel's attorney rose. Mr. Chairman, Director Patel invokes his Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination. Bondi's attorney stood at the same moment, a choreographed response. Attorney General Bondi also invokes the Fifth Amendment. 2 witnesses, 2 Fifth Amendments. On the same question, at the same moment, the room erupted, gallery shouting, reporters yelling questions, the gavel coming down 4 times, each bang less effective than the last. Raskin gathered his documents without rushing. He did not look angry. He looked like someone who just received the exact answer he came for. He stepped back and said 7 words. The record will reflect their response. Patel and Bondi sat side by side. Both chose silence over testimony. No answer, no explanation, nowhere left to hide. Watch Raskin's face in the moment after the dual Fifth Amendment. The particular stillness of someone whose plan just worked exactly as designed. He did not smirk. He did not celebrate. He just paused, looked at the documents, then at the witnesses. It was the look of a prosecutor who just watched 2 defendants walk into a trap he set months ago. Within 34 minutes, the clip reached 4.7 million views. Legal analysts everywhere asked the same question. Why would both witnesses take the fifth on the same Epstein question? The Fifth Amendment protects against self-incrimination. You only need it if answering truthfully would expose you to criminal liability. So what crime are they afraid of admitting? The answer is in the privilege log. Line 47, Batch EP347, Category 4, Protected Individual Profile, White House Counsel Coordination, signed by Patel, 2 simultaneous Fifth Amendments, 2,847 files, 941 profiles, 1 question that could not be answered. Within 90 minutes, the White House press secretary issued a statement calling the hearing a political stunt, but they did not deny the existence of the files. They did not deny the involvement of White House counsel. They attacked the process, not the substance. That is a tell. Within 3 hours, the DOJ Inspector General's office confirmed receipt of Raskin's referral. They announced a preliminary review would begin within 30 days. That is fast by IG standards. Within 6 hours, a sealed emergency motion was filed in the Southern District of New York, seeking to maintain the seal on batch EP347. The motion argued premature disclosure would compromise ongoing integrity measures. That is lawyer speak for someone is terrified. Let's talk about what is actually in those 941 protected profiles. Protected individual is not a witness. It is not a victim. It is someone whose identity the government has decided to shield from public disclosure. In the Epstein context, that means one of two things. Either they are victims whose privacy needs protection, which everyone would support, or they are associates whose exposure would cause political or social damage. The sheer number, 941, suggests it is not just victims. That is far too many for the known victim pool. The financial records category, 691 files, likely contains the money trail, where the funds came from, where they went, who facilitated the transactions. The travel documentation, 83 files, probably includes flight logs, hotel records, transportation manifests. The witness transcripts, 412 files, contain testimony from people who saw things, heard things, or participated in things. But the 941 protected profiles are the crown jewels. Those are the names, and someone in the White House counsel's office is coordinating their protection. That is what Patel admitted under oath before taking the fifth. That is the admission that triggered the silence. Think about the implications. The Attorney General of the United States cannot answer whether she knows if any current executive branch official appears in Epstein's files. The FBI director cannot answer the same question. They would rather invoke the right against self-incrimination than say no. That means yes is the only answer that explains their silence. There are current executive branch officials in those files, and those officials have enough power to ensure the files stay sealed. We do not know who yet, but we know the mechanisms, we know the signatures, we know the timeline, and we know that within hours of these questions being asked, emergency motions were filed to keep everything quiet. The 2,847 files still exist, the seal still holds, and two people with the power to release them just chose silence over testimony. That is not the end of the story. That is the confirmation the story is real. They just took the fifth. That is not a victory. That is a confession.